Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Summer. Today we're doing another color tutorial, and this time we are focusing on money pieces. So I'm going to be doing what I kind of call like a full head halo money piece, where we're focusing it right in along the front hairline, but also underneath as well. So when that hair is pushed over the shoulders, you really see those nice pops of color. And I'm also gonna be doing some freehand foilayage pieces just to tie everything in. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys how I sort of do my sectioning for the money piece. She does have a little bit of a curtain bang, so it's easier to tell where I'm gonna pop the foils in or how many I'm going back. But if your client doesn't have the bang, what I like to do is I will just come in and take the hair along their face and kind of pop it up to see how it's bending. And normally you can see a little bit of split forming, and that is where I like to take the hair and make kind of as my guide and leeway for how far back I'm gonna bring it. So again, we'll just take the hair, kind of bevel it up, see how it's going, and then take that hair out. And then you're just gonna match up the same on the other side. And literally just follow along with your comb and grab that hair. So we've got a nice even amount there. And then I'm just gonna clip this sort of out of the way for now, because before I get to the middle section here, I am gonna put some along the face. Like I said, we're working all the way along the hairline and all the way around to the back. So that way when your client's hair is up, you're gonna see all this lightness. And then when it's down, these back pieces, when they're brought forward, you'll see that nice pop of color throughout there too. Okay, so now that we have the front piece done, to go along the sides, I don't really like to do more than about 3 foils along the hairline. What I like to do is do 2 back baby weaves back to back, and then I'll do a space in between and add in the 3rd one behind it. So I'm gonna get my lightener mixed up and then we'll get to applying. All right, so I'm gonna be using Pravana's Pure Light Power Lightener. This gives about 7 levels of lift, and I like to just always start off with just right at ½ an ounce of lightener, and I can always mix up later if I need to. And Pravana is mixed 1, 2, 3. So 1 part lightener, 3 parts developer. And I will be using 20 volume. All right, so now that I have my lightener mixed up, got my hair pulled back, I'm ready to go. I typically would start underneath and work my way forward, but I wanted to show you guys the front part first. So I just wanted to make note of that, but we are ready to go. So I'm gonna start on this side first. And usually a real hairline is much easier to put these in. I just like to do diagonal backs, but because this is quite loopy here, I'm gonna do in smaller sections. So I'm gonna just actually clip all this top hair up out of the way. And then I'm even gonna clip this hair back, just so that's less hair we have to fuss with. Okay, so now that we're ready to put our foils in, what I'd like to do is I do 2 back-to-back weaves. So we're gonna come in and do, it doesn't have to be too thick or too thin. And because she's got that weird curve, I'm gonna break this up into 2 sections. So I've got my first weave, so we're gonna clip this hair back. And then on mannequin hair, I'll coat both sides just to try to get the foil to hold. If you've watched any of my other videos, the hairlines are always so annoying to me on a mannequin. So I take my foil, place the tail of my comb behind the foil and fold forward. Hold that hair back, lay it down, slide out that comb, and apply. Make sure to really saturate very well all the way through so you're getting even lift and even coverage. And then we're gonna fold up into place. And then I always lift my foil back, place the tail of that comb underneath your fold here, and secure. All right, and now we're gonna come up further the head. All right, and we're gonna just do the same thing. Take a weave. And you can also hit the hair with the lightener beforehand if you want. Like I said, most people's hairlines are easier to get in with the foil. I just do it this way with the mannequins, so I don't have to fight it as hard. So we're gonna lift that hair up, place your foil in, slide out that tail of your comb, and apply your lightener. Okay, so now that we have done the first two, I'm gonna come back down and place my second one behind this. So we're taking our second weave. And so the thickness of your weave can be determined by how much of a pop your client's wanting to see. If they want a very, very bold, thick money piece, you would want to add more foils than what I'm doing. Like I said, I'm just trying to create a little bit of a pop without it being too bulky. So I'm gonna do the two back-to-back weaves. So you'll create a nice section there along the hairline, and then my next one, the third one behind it, I'm gonna leave a little bit of hair out in between just to soften that line slightly. So we're gonna take a slice here, not super thick. Clip this hair out, and then we're gonna weave this hair. So there's a little bit more hair in the piece that we're actually foiling, but enough here to just soften the line. Fold, lift back up, slide your comb in there, and secure. So we're gonna repeat the same thing on the other side and then work our way into the center. So again, I'm gonna come in, just remove all this hair out away from the face, and same with the hair right behind it. Okay, I'm just gonna take a little bit more hair and throw this back. And then I am gonna split her here. Okay, and again, I'm only breaking this into two sections because she's got these little curves on her head. So we're gonna do the same thing, take a weave right along that hairline. Fold up. And secure into place. All right, so we're gonna take our next weave here, working our way up the hairline. Okay, and now we're gonna place one right behind those two. All right, and then we're just gonna come in, weave our next weave right behind these two. Lift that hair, place your foil in, and bring it back down. Okay, and then for our last piece, remember, we're gonna come in, take a slice, not too thick or thin. So So we have this hair to soften it up. So one thing I also like about folding the foil behind the comb, so on top of being able to slide it up into place, you can also take your hand and place it underneath too to kind of give you a little extra support and pull that hair down ever so slightly if you need it. So I have always, in my whole career, always folded my foils this way. It's just, I feel like gives you the most stability and most control. It's especially great if you're new, but also I'm 15 years in this point of my career and this is how I continue to fold. It works the best for me. And again, slide that tail under there and lock it into place. Okay, so we've got our sides done and now we're gonna work our way into her front. Let out the hair of the back. Okay, so I'm gonna just reclip this out of the way so I don't have any hair falling in my zone here. And then I'm gonna start at the bottom and I'm gonna be doing it similar with 2 weaves back to back, and then I will slowly start leaving some hair in between just to keep it softer, especially at this tip. Where the top of your money piece section falls, right in here, you wanna leave a little bit of a root so it kind of camouflages it nicely and gives it a softer, more lived-in look. Okay. And again, if your client, like I said, this mannequin has this little curve. If your client does have a weird hairline, you can break it in half if you need to. That way you get the most coverage. So for this, I am gonna do these 2 in separate pieces at first, just so I can really get good control of the width that's here. So always customize it to your client. Don't think you have to just go straight across and back. You wanna make sure you're getting good even coverage, so break it in half if you need to. I say this every time I do a color tutorial, but I hate mannequins' hairline. They just like to be difficult. If your weaves that you're taking are on the thicker side, make sure you're really fully saturating that hair super well, just because the thicker the piece, the more hair each section the lightener has to break through. So saturate, saturate, saturate. It's probably one of the most important things when applying your lightener. All right, so we're gonna come behind this foil and do our second weave. So they're 2 back-to-back weaves. Come back over to this side. Lift, place that foil in. So now that we have done the bulk of that main little hairline and it's not quite as wide, I'm gonna move into 1 foil going across. And for this first one, I'm gonna take smaller slice here and I'm gonna weave this so there's just ever so slightly a little bit of hair left between the two. All right, so again, so there's a little bit of hair left between the two. I'm gonna weave this. So we've got just enough hair here to break this up. One of the reasons why I like to leave a little bit of hair in between on the money piece is it does soften it just ever so slightly. So you have some of their natural base color showing through. It just lightly softens up for the regrowth. I feel like if you don't leave any hair out in between, you kind of immediately see it when it grows out. So if somebody's open to that, or that regrowth look doesn't bother them too much, or they want to get it touched up often, it's fine. But somebody let's say you know they're not going to like seeing that, leave a little hair out in between and it just will lightly help while it grows out. And I've actually got to mix more lightener, so quick time out. Okay, so we are coming up now, getting close to the top here where we want to keep some added depth. So I'm just going to do one very small slice here, clip this up, and we're going to come in and weave this. And again, the lightener, I always do the 1/2 ounce mixes just because I have found pretty much every 30 minutes I get through 1/2 ounce, and every 30 minutes I like to remix my lightener because past that point, the lightener starts to lose its efficiency and its strength. So small batches at a time, you're less likely to waste product that way too. And in today's society, we don't want to waste anything. So now that we're here at the top and we want to leave a little bit of depth at that root, I'm just going to come in and we're going to do a nice tease. So that way we've got a little bit of a barrier here and some dimension. And because I've teased it pretty good, I'm not going to worry about weaving it. We've really created a nice rat's nest here. And we're just going to grab our foil. Push it back up with your comb. You can clip any of that hair out of the way if you want. And then apply your lightener. And then for this part, I sort of just do a light painting motion up. I don't want to come in and just smack it straight on. It just keeps it soft. The teasing will do that as well, but it's kind of like you're just wanting to give yourself a little bit more insurance. So that's why I like to feather it in, even with the teasing. Okay, so now that I have her foils in along her face, again, we've got 3 on her sides, 2 back to back, 1 with a weave of hair left out, and then it's pretty much the same along her face, 2 back to back. Then I do 2 with hair left in between, and then the nice tease at the top. So to add in a little bit of freehand foils, how I will go about doing that is kind of judge it based on where their layers are. So her shortest piece comes in about here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna lift that top layer, and I'm gonna basically just do 2 freehand foils along her side. So she's got a little bit of depth here, and then just do a couple on the top too. I'm not trying to do a ton, just enough to add in the color of lightness that she's gonna have along her face here. Okay, so we've got our sectioned off here. This top layer's out, just a nice little round section. I'm gonna come in at a diagonal here, lift up that hair, and then we're just gonna take a nice thick weave. And then Foilayage, teasy lights, however you wanna describe it. I am gonna do a little bit of teasing just because I'm not going directly to the root. I'm trying to just create a little bit of depth through the mid area to the ends, just to kind of tie everything in together. And then I like to just kind of lightly feather it up. Again, same with that top piece, for your money piece, that last foil, I don't want to come and just hit it directly across. I want to just feather it in to keep a nice soft line. I'm going to drop down this next piece. I'm just going to come in right here, do the same thing. Take a nice weave, tease it. And then we're just gonna fold up and lock into place. And then we're gonna do the same thing on the other side, just doing 2. Again, we're keeping it minimal. We're not trying to like go to town. You wanna see dimension. It's a nice option for people who wanna see a pop of color without having a lot of high maintenance, or maybe they just don't want it all over their head. Come in here, grab a good weave. Tease. And then again, I said this earlier, saturate, 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 especially for those thicker weaves, or if you're doing heavy slicing, saturate. So if you are new to doing hair, or you are just somebody who's watching this and gonna attempt to do it at home on your own, the difference between like a foilayage or balayage is just the technique. It's hand painting, and foilayage, you're still sort of doing that hand painting motion, but the purpose of the foil is it sort of secures everything, and you're gonna get more lift with the hair in a foil versus balayage, that's open air, and the lightener is not gonna give you quite as much levels of lift. So if you're somebody with dark brown hair and you don't wanna see brassiness, balayage is not gonna be the method you wanna choose. Okay, so now we've got our 2 pieces added in at her sides, and I'm gonna let down this top section, and then I'm just going to essentially, we're just gonna come in at a diagonal close to that part line. You don't wanna be directly on it, but just diagonal back, lift the hair, and I'm just gonna do a soft weave, not as thick as those bottom 2, because I want to keep it softer up closer to the top of her hair. And I'm not even going to tease it. I'm just going to come in, apply my lightener, and then just lightly feather up. So I'm coating it, but I'm not fully saturating it, so it just slightly gets the top layers of this section without completely coating it. So you'll have a little bit of lift, but not quite as much as you will through the ends. Do the same on the other side. Okay, a diagonal right along that top hairline. And then just a nice soft weave. Okay, so now that we have the front done, I'm gonna work my way into the back, but we've got just 3 foils on her side along with your face framing. Nothing too crazy, but enough that you're gonna see some nice dimension and movement. Like I said, I would typically start in the back first, but the front was a little bit more exciting. So I'm gonna just go ahead and part along her hairline in the back and show you guys. You basically apply it pretty much the same way as I did the front. I'm gonna come in here, lift all this hair up out of the way. Okay, so I have sectioned her hair off here. I'm gonna clip any of these foils up that maybe are in my way slightly. Okay, so because we are doing along the whole side here, you wanna come in, and I just like to work my way from the front to the back or from the back to the front. Position that up and clip this out of the way. And I'm gonna be doing, I mean, we've got this foil here, so I'm just gonna lightly just weave here along her hairline. I'm not gonna place two right along the ear. Usually you don't need kind of more than one, depending on how thick or thin their hairline. Like my hair, along my hairline of my ear is really, really thin and fine. I don't need much. I actually don't even like to lighten it, but so I do have, like I said, that foil there. So I'm just gonna come in here, lift up, place that foil in, and apply your lightener. And we're gonna repeat on the other side. And then weave. Okay, and now we're gonna come back to the side, like the back sides. So right in here. Same thing, take a nice weave right along the hairline. And on this back area, past the point of her ear, like in her nape section, I'm gonna do the same thing where I do two back-to-back weaves and then with one with the hair left out in between. Take our weave right along that hairline. Again, those stubborn hairs, I'm gonna hit so I can get that foil into place better. Okay, I had to switch sides. I could not lock the foil into place on the other side. So we've got her nice and saturated, come up and secure, lock it into place. Again, gonna take our second weave, and because that first one was pretty thick, I'm just gonna do a nice little baby one right behind it. Okay, so we're just gonna keep going along the back of the hairline to the back and then to the other side with doing two back-to-back weaves. And then I'm gonna go back in and place that final one over them, leaving out a little bit of hair in between. We're gonna come over here to this last side. Okay, and now that I have Her baseline foil's done along her back hairline. Like I said, again, I'm just gonna come in and place one more on top of each of those, leaving a little bit of hair out in between just to kind of slightly soften the line. And I'll say it one more time, and I'll probably say it again before the end of the video. Fully saturate the foils with more hair in them, whether it's weaving or slicing, saturate. I'll try not to say it again. I think you guys get the point, hopefully. And we're gonna come in and take our final weave for this back money piece. Okay, so now that we have got our hairline money piece foils in the back, I'm gonna do similar to what I did for her front sides. Just pop in a couple extra random foilayage pieces. I'm gonna do the same thing where I just kind of take up this top layer. A little bit more. All right, so I've got her top layer lifted up. We're gonna section that off. Okay, so how to put her foilayage pieces in this back section. I'm essentially just gonna blend it in with these two. I'm gonna kind of come in the middle of this and just sort of come in at that same diagonal so it flows in line from front to back. Clip this up, and then I'm gonna do the same thing over here and then just come right back up through. So we've got a nice diagonal going in both sides. And then again, I'm gonna clip these foils back. And again, I'm just gonna take a nice weave, tease it. So we have that teased up a little bit. We're gonna take our foil, apply that lightener lower down, and then kind of just lightly paint up with it. Over to this other side. Weave, tease. Okay, so I've got her two back side pieces in underneath, and now we're gonna come up to the top. I wanna let her hair down first so I can see how it's laying. I wanna be able to not have it popping through here. I want that to cover it, so I'm just gonna look at how the hair falls, lay it back down to how it would with it parted and styled. And I wanna bring it up to the crown, but not too high up, so I'm gonna come in just below it. So we've got a good amount of hair here covering this piece. Clip that back up, take a weave. I'm gonna do it actually a little bit softer because we're closer to the top of the head. Tease it a little bit if you want. Start a little bit lower. And then just feather your way up. Again, the nice soft feathering is gonna coat a little bit of the outer layer of this section, but it's not gonna fully saturate it. So you'll still have a little bit of depth behind right up here, but definitely coat those ends thoroughly. Down, and I think I'm gonna leave it at that. So we don't have anything right directly on the hairline at the top, but we've got enough where we're gonna have some coverage. So now that everything is in, we're just gonna let her process, and then I will show you guys what it looks like before I glaze it and then show you the final look. Okay, so we have her rinsed out, and I'm just gonna put her glaze on now, and then we'll show you the final result. I am doing a glaze of Redken shades, 9WB, 9VG, 9GI, and a little bit of 9GC, a nice concoction and plethora. So I will show you guys the finished look soon. Okay, so here we have our final finished result. It came out so nice. I love it. We've got just that nice pop of brightness right around her face framing with her curtain bang. The money piece is really popping through, along with the sides blending that in, and then those foils coming in through the back to really give it that bold, bright look. And then from her side view, you can see those foils that we did underneath just pop out ever so slightly to sort of lightly tie it all in together. I love the way that it looks too, with it pulled back. You see that nice bright blonde coming through. So this is a fun service to do in salon or on yourself if you're looking for a fun pop of color without it being all over, so the maintenance is lower. If you want a bolder money piece or face framing, simply just add in more foils or do thicker pieces. So instead of weaving, you could go ahead and opt to do slicing. And if you want to make it softer, you just go ahead and leave hair out in between each foil rather than doing them back to back. Make sure you tease on that very top piece for the money piece just so it keeps it soft so you don't get that hard line. And then remember, if you're adding any fun foils underneath, go ahead and tease them up and just lightly feather at the top so it keeps it a nice soft look. So I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. Please leave a comment below if you have any questions. I would be more than happy to ask. I love interacting with you guys in the comments. But yeah, hopefully you had fun. Hopefully it inspires you to maybe try something out new or in the salon on a client. So please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next week.